The station never truly slept, but it did learn how to pretend. Lights dimmed according to the artificial night cycle, corridors softened their hum, and most species retreated into private spaces designed to match their home worlds. For humans, it felt like a quiet hour before dawn. For others, it was a strictly regulated rest period, enforced by biology, culture, or law. Elias had learned to appreciate this time. He sat alone in his room, boots kicked off near the door, back against the wall, reading through a report he had already memorized twice. The words were familiar, comforting in their dullness. Star charts, trade updates, cultural adjustment notes. Nothing urgent, nothing surprising. That was when the door slid open. Elias looked up, already ready to remind whoever it was about the posted hours. But the words never came. Standing in the doorway was Ambassador Lyrian of the Kelari Collective. She did not knock. She did not speak. She simply stepped inside and let the door close behind her. The Kelari were taller than humans, long-limbed, pale in color, with eyes that reflected light like still water. They were known across the Alliance for their discipline, emotional control, and strict adherence to protocol. Lyrian, especially, was famous for her calm. In meetings, her voice never rose. Her posture never broke. Her presence alone seemed to quiet a room. Now she looked nothing like that. Her shoulders sagged as if gravity had suddenly doubled. Her ceremonial sash slipped from her grasp and fell to the floor. A small translator device followed. Then a thin data slate. She did not look down to retrieve them. Elias stood up slowly. "Ambassador," he said, keeping his voice low. "Is something wrong?" She did not answer. Instead, she walked toward him with slow, unsteady steps. There was no fear in her eyes, only exhaustion so deep it seemed to hollow her out. When she reached him, she placed one hand on his chest, as if checking whether he was real. Then she leaned forward and rested her full weight against him. Elias froze. Her head settled just below his collarbone. Her breathing was uneven, shallow at first, then slowly deepening. He could feel the rise and fall of her body against his own. Every protocol alarm in his mind went off at once. Personal space violations, diplomatic boundaries, species interaction rules. Any one of these could start an incident that would end his career. He did not move. He did not touch her. His arms hovered awkwardly at his sides, unsure whether lifting them would make things worse. "Ambassador Lyrian," he said again, softer this time. "You should not be here." "I know," she replied. Her voice was quiet. Not weak, but thin, like it had traveled a long way to reach him. "I am aware of every regulation I am breaking," she continued. "I counted them on the way here. Then why I could not remain alone?" The words were simple, but the way she said them made Elias feel their weight. He swallowed. "Is there a medical issue? I can call..." "No," she said quickly. "Do not summon anyone." Her grip tightened just slightly, fingers pressing into the fabric of his shirt. Not demanding, not desperate, just there. "I came because you are human," she said. That confused him more than anything else. He stayed still for a long moment, then slowly lowered himself to sit on the edge of the bed. Lyrian followed the movement without resistance, still resting against him, until she was stretched partly across his chest. He leaned back against the wall, heart racing, unsure what else to do. The room was quiet except for the faint sound of station systems and her breathing. "Ambassador," Elias said carefully, "humans are not assigned for this." She gave a sound that might have been a laugh, if it had not been so tired. "That is exactly why I came." She shifted slightly, finding a more comfortable position, her head now resting fully against him. Elias felt heat rise to his face, but he forced himself to stay calm. This was not romantic. It was not improper in intent. It was something else entirely, something he did not yet understand. "Among my people," she said, eyes half closed. Stress is endured privately. Emotional imbalance is corrected in isolation. To require another's presence is considered
Unfinished? Elias repeated.
a failure of self-regulation, she explained. A sign that one has not fully matured. Elias frowned. That sounds lonely. She did not answer right away. When we first met humans, she said instead, we believed you were emotionally reckless. You speak openly of doubt, of fear. You grieve together. We were in groups. We thought it inefficient. And now? Elias asked. Now, she said quietly, we are overwhelmed. Her breathing slowed further, sinking almost unconsciously with his own. Elias became aware of how still he was holding himself, afraid that any movement would disturb her. Our species expanded too quickly, she continued. We entered interstellar society without preparing for the emotional density of it. Too many minds, too many expectations, too many constant signals. She paused. For the first time in our recorded history, our diplomats are failing.
Elias felt a chill at that.
What kind of failing? He asked. She tilted her head slightly as if considering how to explain it in human terms. Memory fragmentation, delayed responses, loss of focus, the inability to rest even when inactive. That sounds like burnout, Elias said. Yes, she replied. Your word appears often in our research files.
She was quiet for a while after that. Elias did not rush her.
He had the strange sense that if he spoke too loudly, the moment would shatter. Why me? He asked finally. She opened her eyes and looked up at him. Their faces were closer now than he was used to with anyone outside his own species, but her gaze was steady.
You listen without attempting to fix, she said.
You remain present without demand. You do not treat silence as a problem.
Elias felt something tighten in his chest.
That's just being human, he said. She studied his face for a long moment, then nodded. That is what concerns us. He raised an eyebrow. Concerns? Yes, she said, because if your species functions this way naturally, then emotional endurance is not a learned skill for you. It is a trait. She shifted again, settling more comfortably, as if her body had already decided that this was where it belonged for now.
I did not come seeking comfort, she said.
I came seeking confirmation. Of what? That proximity does not weaken you. Elias exhaled slowly. It doesn't, he said. It just shares the weight. Her eyes closed again. That is what we are missing, she murmured. Outside the room, station sensors logged an anomaly. 2 species occupying a space beyond recommended parameters. Elevated heart rates. No signs of distress. No signs of conflict. The system flagged it for later review. Inside the room, Elias remained still, his back against the wall, an alien diplomat resting across his chest, trusting him in a way no one had prepared him for. He realized suddenly that this moment might matter far beyond this room, and for the first time since joining the station, he felt that being human was not just tolerated here. It was needed. Elias did not know how much time passed. The station's lights remained dim, holding the quiet of the artificial night. The air felt heavier, not in a bad way, but full, as if the room itself had decided to pay attention. Ambassador Lyrian remained resting across his chest, her breathing slow and steady now, no longer sharp with strain. She had not fallen asleep. Elias could tell. Her awareness still lingered, calm but alert, like someone standing near a warm fire after a long, cold walk. You are tense, she said softly. He almost laughed.
You're an ambassador from another species in my room, breaking about 100 rules, and I'm pretty sure half the station would panic if they knew. Yes.
I'm tense. Her mouth curved slightly. a Kaelari expression that humans had learned meant something close to a smile.
"And yet you remain," she said. "You did not push me away. Didn't seem like the right move," Elias replied.
Silence returned, but it was different now. Not empty, not awkward. It felt like shared ground. Lyrian shifted just enough to look up at him again. "When I entered your room," she said, "I expected resistance. At minimum, confusion strong enough to disrupt what I was attempting." "And what were you attempting?" Elias asked. "To observe whether your calm was real." That made him blink.
"You thought I was pretending?" "No," she corrected. "I thought it might be conditional."
Temporary. Something that would collapse under pressure. She rested her hand flat against his chest, fingers splayed lightly. Elias could feel the warmth through his shirt, the gentle pressure of her palm. "It did not," she said. Elias swallowed. "Humans aren't great at a lot of things," he said, "but sitting with discomfort is kind of our specialty." "Why?" she asked. He thought about it. Earth. Crowded cities, long histories, losses stacked on top of one another, generations learning how to survive not by escaping pain, but by living alongside it. "Because we had to," he said simply. Lyrian considered that in silence.
"Your species evolved on a world of constant change," she said. "Ours did not."
Stability shaped us. Predictability, quiet progression. "And now?" Elias asked. "And now the galaxy is louder than anything we prepared for," she replied. She shifted again, careful, respectful, adjusting her position as if suddenly aware of how close they were. Elias noticed, but he did not pull away. "I should apologize," she said, "for intruding." He shook his head. "You don't have to." "That response," she said, eyes lifting to his again, "is exactly the problem." Before he could ask what she meant, there was a soft chime at the door. Elie stiffened. Lyrian did not move. The chime sounded again, hesitant this time, as if whoever stood outside was unsure whether to continue. "Ambassador?" came a voice through the door. Another Kaelari, calm, controlled, but strained beneath the surface.
We detected an irregularity in your location. Lyrian closed her eyes for a brief moment. Elias felt her inhale, steadying herself.
"I am safe," she said, her voice firm now. "Do not enter." There was a pause. "With respect," the voice replied. "You are not alone." "That is correct," Lyrian said. "And that is intentional." Elias held his breath. "Ambassador," the voice continued carefully, "this may be misunderstood." "Yes," she said, "it will be." Another pause, longer this time. "We will inform the council," the voice said at last. "That will not be necessary," Lyrian replied. "It already is," the voice answered, and then the line went silent. Elias let out a slow breath. "Well," he said, "there goes my quiet night." Lyrian opened her eyes again. There was no panic in them now, only resolve. "This is why I came to you first," she said, "before this became public."
"You could have warned me," Elias said, though there was no anger in it. "I wanted to see if you would remain once the risk became real," she replied honestly.
He looked down at her, searching her expression for manipulation, strategy, calculation. He found none. "You know," he said slowly, "humans usually test trust the other way around." "I am learning," she said. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "What happens now?" Elias asked. "The council will debate," she said. "They will ask why I violated protocol, why I sought human proximity during a period of stress." why I did not isolate myself as required.
And what will you tell them? That isolation was harming us, she said.
That humans do not isolate by default. That this difference matters. She lifted her head slightly, enough to meet his eyes fully, and that I chose to trust it.
Elias felt something settle in his chest, a strange mix of pride and worry. You realize they might make this a thing, he said. Study it. Regulate it.
Yes, she replied. And that frightens me. Why? Because what you offer is not a process, she said.
It is not a method that can be measured cleanly. It is presence.
It loses meaning when enforced, Elias nodded. Yeah, humans don't do well when you tell us exactly how to care. She gave another small smile. There was movement outside the room now. Footsteps, soft voices, the station waking up faster than it was supposed to. Lyrian slowly sat up, lifting herself away from his chest. The absence of her weight felt strange, like the room had shifted balance. She gathered her fallen items from the floor, her posture straightening, the familiar composure returning. But it was different now. Not rigid, not defensive. Before stepping away, she paused. I am aware that my presence has placed you in a difficult position, she said. If you wish to distance yourself, I will accept that. Elias looked at her, really looked, at the calm mask she wore so well, and the cracks beneath it he had been allowed to see.
I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen,
he said. But I'm not ashamed of it either. Her eyes softened. Then neither will I, she said. She moved toward the door, then stopped again, turning back.
Elias, she said.
Yes? When this becomes complicated, she said, and it will, may I return? He did not answer right away. He thought of the station, the rules, the watchful eyes, the unknown future. Then he thought of how natural it had felt to simply be there for someone. Yeah, he said, you can. She nodded once, deeply, and left the room. The door slid shut. Elias remained seated for a long time after, staring at the space where she had been. Across the station, systems logged rising activity. Messages were sent. Questions were formed. The council prepared to analyze something they did not yet understand. A human had done nothing special, and somehow that was exactly what changed everything. Elias woke to the sound of his door chiming again. This time, it was not gentle. He sat up quickly, disoriented, the dim lights of his room already shifting toward daytime brightness. For a moment he expected to see Ambassador Lyrian standing there again, calm and quiet. Instead, the display panel beside the door glowed with an official station seal. Elias Hart, a neutral voice said. Please open the door. He rubbed his face and stood, pulling on a jacket before responding. Door open. The panel slid aside to reveal 3 figures. One was human, a senior cultural liaison named Mara Klein. The other 2 were Kaolari officials, their posture perfect, expressions unreadable. Their eyes briefly scanned the room, lingering on the bed, the wall, the empty space where Lyrian had rested hours before. Good morning, Mara said, her tone polite but tight. We need to talk. Elias stepped aside to let them in. They did not sit. The council has questions, one of the Kaolari said, regarding your interaction with Ambassador Lyrian during the last rest cycle. I figured, Elias replied. Mara glanced at him. This is being treated as a cultural anomaly, she said, not a violation. For now, that's something, Elias said. The second Kaolari tilted their head slightly. You are aware that Ambassador Lyrian remained in your private quarters for an extended period.
Yes, Elias said.
I was there. You allowed physical proximity. The first Kalari continued, extended, unstructured, without formal mediation. Yes, there was a pause. Why? The Kalari asked. Elias looked at them, then at Mara. She gave him a small nod, as if to say, be honest. Because she needed it, he said. The Kalari officials exchanged a glance. That response is insufficient, one said. Elias shrugged. It's the truth. Mara cleared her throat. What Elias means, she said carefully, is that humans often respond to stress through shared presence. It's not strategic.
It's instinctive. The Kaelaris studied Elias again, as if seeing him for the first time.
Ambassador Lyrian's cognitive markers stabilized during the encounter, one said slowly. Her stress indicators dropped below baseline within minutes. Mara blinked. That fast? Yes, the Kalari replied. This effect has not been achieved through isolation, meditation, or neural regulation. Elias frowned. You're tracking her stress levels that closely? She is a diplomat, the Kalari said. Her state affects many.
And now you want to know if this works on others, Elias said.
The silence that followed told him he was right. We want to understand the mechanism, the Kalari said. There isn't one, Elias replied. Not like you're thinking.
That is unacceptable, the Kaelari answered calmly.
Mara stepped in again. Maybe the issue, she said, is that you're treating this like a tool instead of a relationship. The Kalari did not respond right away. We will observe further, one said at last. For now, Elias Hart, you are requested to remain available. Available for what? Elias asked. Presence, the Kalari replied. They left shortly after, their steps quiet, controlled. Mara stayed behind. As soon as the door closed, she turned to Elias, eyes wide. What did you do? She whispered. Nothing, he said. That's the problem. She rubbed her temples. They're already calling it human stabilizing proximity in preliminary notes, Elias groaned. That sounds awful. It gets worse, she said. They want to see if it works on other Kalari. And if it does, they'll want to scale it, Mara said. Standardize it, assign humans to it. Elias leaned back against the wall. You can't assign that. I know, she said. But you don't get invited into the galaxy without someone trying to turn you into infrastructure. Later that cycle, Elias found himself in a neutral observation room, soft lighting, wide space, no restraints, just chairs arranged in a loose circle. He was not alone. Across from him sat another Kalari diplomat, younger than Lyrian, their posture stiff, eyes darting. Two human observers stood off to the side, pretending very hard not to stare. This is voluntary, the Kalari said, their voice tight.
I have been unable to rest.
Elias nodded. Okay. There was an awkward pause.
You don't have to do anything special, Elias said. We can just sit. The Kalari hesitated, then slowly moved closer, sitting beside him.
Not touching, just near.
Their breathing was shallow at first.
Elias stayed still.
Minutes passed. Gradually, the Kalari's shoulders lowered. Their eyes softened. Their breathing deepened. One of the observers glanced at a data pad, eyebrows lifting. I don't understand, the Kalari murmured.
You were not guiding me.
No, Elias said. I'm just here. Something changed in the room then. Not dramatic, not sudden, just a quiet shift, like a storm passing without thunder. Word spread quickly after that, not loudly, not officially, just whispers between species. The humans were easy to sit with. They didn't rush. They didn't demand explanation. They didn't treat silence like a problem that needed fixing. Other species began to notice. A Keth engineer lingered near a human workstation longer than necessary. A Varel scientist asked if a human could accompany them during long observation shifts. A Kalari aide requested permission to share a rest cycle in a human-designed common area. The station system struggled to categorize these requests. They weren't medical. They weren't social bonding rituals. They weren't romantic. They were simply shared presence. The council convened again. Ambassador Lyrian stood before them, composed as always. But this time, there was something different in her stance. Less tension, more ease. "Our people are not malfunctioning," she said calmly. "We are overloaded," a council member responded. "And you believe humans are the solution?" "No," Lyrian said. "I believe humans are the reminder." "A reminder of what?" another asked. "That endurance does not require isolation," she replied. "That rest does not require solitude. That closeness is not weakness." There was resistance, of course. Some species argued that humans were being idealized. Others warned of dependency. A few accused humanity of unintentionally manipulating the alliance. Lyrian listened to all of it. Then she spoke again. "I did not seek a human to solve me," she said. "I sought one to sit with me while I remembered who I was." That quieted the room. Back in his quarters, Elias sat alone again, the station humming around him. He felt tired in a way he hadn't before. Not drained, just aware. There was a soft chime at the door. He already knew who it was. When the door opened, Ambassador Lyrian stood there, composed, carrying no ceremonial items this time. "May I enter?" she asked. "Yes," Elias said. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her.
"I testified today," she said. "It was
"Difficult, I heard," Elias replied. She looked at the bed, then at him. "May I sit?" "Of course." She sat beside him, not touching yet, just close enough to feel. "They are trying to define what you are," she said quietly. "Good luck to them," Elias replied. She let out a small breath that might have been amusement. "They will fail," she said, "because what you offer is not something that can be extracted." She turned to him then. "It must be given." Elias met her gaze. Outside, the station continued its careful orbit, unaware that something fundamental was shifting within its walls. Humanity was no longer just a participant in the alliance. It was becoming a place others leaned toward, not for answers, but for rest. The station changed slowly, the way quiet things always do. There was no announcement at first, no official notice explaining why certain corridors felt less tense, or why shared spaces were suddenly fuller during rest cycles. But Elias noticed it. Humans usually did. Benches that once stayed empty were now used. Observation decks became places where people lingered instead of passing through. Species that preferred strict schedules began arriving early or leaving late, not because they were inefficient, but because leaving felt harder than staying. Humans were almost always already there. Elias sat in one such common area, a wide room with soft lighting and a curved window that looked out into the stars. He wasn't doing anything important, just watching a data stream scroll by, half paying attention. Around him, a Kaolari aide sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed. A Varel scientist leaned back in a chair nearby, arms folded, breathing slow. Two humans played a quiet game with no score, just passing time. No one spoke. The station systems still didn't know what to call this. Requests came in under strange labels. Extended neutral presence, shared environmental downtime, non-task-oriented companionship. Elias ignored the labels. He had stopped being surprised when people asked if he would be somewhere. Not to talk, not to help, just to be there. It weighed on him more than he admitted. Mara found him later that cycle, sitting alone in his room, lights low. "You look tired," she said. "I am," Elias replied. "But not the bad kind." She leaned against the doorframe. "The council is struggling." "Good," he said. She smiled faintly, then sighed. "They're rewriting habitat design standards. That got his attention. Already?" "Yes." More shared rest spaces. Fewer enforced isolation zones. Adjustable privacy instead of absolute separation.
Elias shook his head slowly. "All because people sat next to each other. All because humans didn't panic when others needed them," Mara corrected. He rubbed his hands together. "They're going to overdo it. They always do," she said. "But Lyrian is pushing back." At the mention of her name, Elias felt that familiar tightening in his chest. Not fear, not attraction. Something quieter. A sense of responsibility. "How is she?" he asked. Mara hesitated.
Better. And
"Heavier. Heavier. She's carrying this for her people," Mara said. "Standing in rooms full of leaders and telling them they're tired." Elias nodded. "That's never popular."
No, Mara agreed.
"But it's necessary." Later that cycle, Elias was asked to attend a council session, not as a speaker, just as an observer. That alone told him how serious things had become. The council chamber was vast, designed to make no single species feel dominant. The floor curved gently upward, seating arranged in layers. Light shifted subtly to accommodate different vision ranges. Sound translated instantly, seamlessly. Ambassador Lyrian stood at the center. She looked composed as always, but Elias could see what others missed: the slight stiffness in her shoulders, the careful stillness she used when carrying too much. A representative from a rigid hierarchical species spoke first. "Human practices are creating reliance," they said. "Several delegates now request human presence during rest cycles. This is unsustainable." Lyrian inclined her head. "Then do not assign it." "That is not the point," another replied. "Your own people are changing routines."
Protocols are being ignored. They are being questioned, Lyrian said.
"There is a difference." A murmur moved through the chamber. A third voice rose. "Humans evolved under constant stress. Their tolerance is abnormal. Building systems around that is unfair to them." Elias stiffened at that. Lyrian turned slightly, her gaze sweeping the chamber. "Humans are not offering endurance," she said. "They are offering permission." "Permission for what?" someone asked. "To stop performing strength when rest is needed," she replied. "To be unfinished in the presence of others." The room fell quiet. "This is not a human service," Lyrian continued. "It is a reminder of something many of us lost in our pursuit of efficiency." A pause. "If we become dependent," she said, "it will not be on humans. It will be on the idea that we must always endure alone." Elias felt something shift inside him then. A realization. They weren't trying to copy humans. They were remembering themselves. After the session, Lyrian found Elias near the exit. "You did not speak," she said. "I wasn't invited to," he replied. "That was intentional," she said. "Your silence mattered more." He raised an eyebrow. "How so?" "They needed to see that you were not here to defend yourself," she said. "That you were not demanding recognition." Elias shrugged. "I'm just tired." She looked at him for a long moment.
So are we.
They walked together through the corridor, side by side, not touching.
The station lights dimmed slightly as rest cycle approached. Do you regret it? Elias asked.
Whoa. Nice! What? Nice!
Starting all this. She did not answer right away.
No, she said finally.
But I fear what happens when they try to formalize what should remain human. They can't regulate care, Elias said. They will try, she replied. They stopped near a quiet alcove. No one else was there.
I'm expected to host a cultural exchange tomorrow, Lyrian said. A demonstration.
Elias frowned. Of what? Human proximity, she said. They want me to explain it. He let out a slow breath. That's like explaining why a song makes you feel something.
Yes, she said. Exactly. She hesitated, then spoke more softly.
Would you be there? As a demonstration? Elias asked. As myself, she corrected. He nodded. Yeah. The exchange took place in a neutral hall. No instruments, no data pads, just people. Lyrian stood before them. Elias sat nearby, visible but unobtrusive. She did not lecture. She asked a Kalari elder to sit with her. Just sit. No speaking, no instruction. Minutes passed. The elder's posture softened. Their breathing slowed. The room watched, confused, uneasy. This is not human strength, Lyrian said quietly. This is shared stillness. Someone asked, what do humans gain from this? Elias answered before she could. Nothing. The silence that followed was different from the others, sharper, uncomfortable. And that, Lyrian said, is why it works. Later, after the hall emptied, Elias and Lyrian remained behind.
I'm worried, Elias admitted.
About what? She asked. That they'll burn humans out, he said. Turn us into anchors for everyone else. She nodded. That is my fear as well. She looked at him then, really looked at him. That is why this must remain a choice, she said. Not a duty. Elias met her gaze. Then promise me something. What? If it stops being okay, he said, you'll say so.
Even if the council doesn't like it. She placed a hand over her chest. Kalari gesture of sincerity.
I promise. The station lights dimmed further. Around them, beings of many worlds rested together. Quietly, imperfectly. The galaxy had not become safer, but it had become less lonely. And for the first time, that felt like progress. The changes did not stop after the council session. They spread outward, slow and steady, like warmth moving through a cold structure. Not dramatic, not loud, just present. Elias noticed it most in the way people walked. Less rushed, less rigid. More pauses. More moments where someone stopped, looked around, and chose to stay instead of moving on. The station was still a place of rules and schedules, but it was learning how to bend without breaking. Humans were careful. That part mattered. They did not advertise what they did. They did not invite crowds. They learned to say no when they were tired. Mara helped with that, pushing back when committees tried to assign rotations or availability windows.
This isn't labor, she told them. It's humanity. And even humans need rest from being human. The council listened.
Sometimes. Elias himself pulled back when he needed to. He learned that saying no did not undo what had already been done. Trust did not disappear just because he stepped away. That was another lesson others slowly learned too. Ambassador Lyrian carried the weight of it all with quiet focus. She spoke when needed. She stayed silent when words would only harden positions. She protected the space humans had created without claiming ownership of it. One cycle. After a long series of meetings, she came to Elias's room again. She knocked this time. He opened the door and smiled, tired but genuine.
Oh, you don't have to knock anymore.
I know, she said. But I wanted to.
She stepped inside, setting her items down carefully. There was no urgency now. No collapse. Just the slow heaviness of responsibility. They sat together on the floor, backs against the wall, not touching at first, just sharing the same quiet.
The Alliance voted today, she said. Elias waited. They approved the new standards, she continued. Optional shared spaces.
Cultural protection for unstructured rest. Explicit limits on human involvement. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding.
Whoa.
It is, she said, not perfect, but respectful. She paused, then added, they also rejected the proposal to classify this as a human service. He smiled faintly. You fought hard for that. Yes, she said, because if they had succeeded, it would have ended. He looked at her.
Ended what? This, she said gently, gesturing between them. The truth of it. They sat in silence again. I will be leaving the station soon, she said at last. Elias turned to her.
Leaving? My assignment is changing, she explained. The Kaolari are restructuring our diplomatic approach.
Fewer isolated envoys, more shared teams.
That sounds like progress, he said. It is, she agreed. Well...
But it means I will not be here. The words settled between them. I figured this was temporary, Elias said after a moment.
Yes, she said. But that does not make it lighter. She shifted closer just enough that their shoulders touched.
Elias did not move away. When I first came to your room, she said, I was afraid I was failing my people. And now? He asked. Now I know I was listening to them, she said. He nodded. That's usually how it goes. They sat like that for a long time. Outside, the station drifted, quiet and steady. On her final day, there was no ceremony. Lirian refused one. She said goodbyes, privately, carefully, to Mara, to the aides who had learned to rest without guilt, to the council members who had listened, even when it was uncomfortable. When she came to Elias's room, she carried nothing. I wanted this to be simple, she said. He smiled. You came to the right species. They stood facing each other, unsure for a moment how to end something that had never been clearly defined. She stepped forward and rested her head against his chest again. Just for a moment. Just enough. Elias closed his eyes. Neither of them spoke. When she stepped back, her posture was steady, her expression calm, but her eyes held warmth that would not fade quickly. Thank you, she said.
For what?
He asked.
For reminding us, she replied. That strength does not require distance. She left after that.
The station did not feel emptier. That surprised Elias. It felt prepared. Weeks passed. Then months. Humans continued to do what they always had. Sit. Listen. Share space.
And stop when it became too much.
Other species adapted in their own ways. Some leaned into shared presence. Others created rituals inspired by it. Some decided they preferred solitude after all. That was fine too. The point was choice. Elias received a message one cycle, routed through several systems, delayed by distance.
It was from Lirian. She wrote simply, we redesigned our habitats.
Shared resting chambers, adjustable privacy, no penalties for proximity, a pause.
Our people are sleeping better. Another pause. I am well.
Elias smiled and leaned back in his chair, staring out at the stars.
Humanity did not become famous. That was the strange part.
No monuments were built. No treaties named after them. No official doctrine declared them special. But across the galaxy, stations felt different. Ships felt quieter. Meetings ended earlier, not because work was finished, but because rest was allowed. And when new species joined the Alliance, they were not only given translators and guides, they were shown where people sat together without speaking. "This is optional," they were told, "but you're welcome." That became humanity's legacy. Not conquest, not brilliance, not dominance, but the simple, stubborn belief that no one should have to endure the universe alone. And that, it turned out, was enough to change everything.